When it comes to the design of a website, a lot of it comes down to simply what colors and fonts are used throughout the site. Nowadays, most websites are very clean, which often mean that they're typically have a lot of white in them, and we're not just trying to overwhelm our customers with a rainbow of colors, and everything's very strategic. So we're going to come into the design, and a good place to start is in the style editor, because this is where we're setting the color scheme of the header, the body, even the design tool if we're selling custom shirts, our buttons. So we're really setting up the settings to use throughout the site. And we can also set the fonts that we are using throughout the site by default. So we can always override them on different pages and so forth. But if you look here, again, we have a header, and a button. Well, I can edit what this looks like by default within the general settings, so that if I make the change here, it changes throughout the site to that new font. And a font says a lot about the company. There are over 100 plus fonts to choose from within Deco Network's software. It can be a little overwhelming to find the right one, but once you do, you want to often stick with it throughout the entire site to keep the consistency. So I'm a big fan of this Poppins font. If I click on it, you can see, sorry, it's a little hard with this navigation. Let's do the top bar. Okay, so as you can see, we have a lot of different fonts here. And what I would highly suggest is make sure whatever you choose is easy to read. And that's the big one. Let's change to Bubblegum Sam's, for example. Change that here. And you can see, there's a lot of different fonts we could choose from. There's almost, again, too many. What is most common is, again, to use something like this Poppins. The default for most websites is Montersant, and it looks nice. Roboto comes in several different types. The Roboto Condensed and the Roboto are very popular. Oswald is another. Now, once you choose a font, and let's do it here with this, we got the goods. So again, style editor, that's a type of heading. So right here, let's change this to Oswald. Oops. Okay. Now, when it comes to the font, we have several decisions. One would be the weight. The weight is the boldness of the font. Now, not every font has this many options. Some of them have even more. But it's amazing if you change the boldness of a font, how different the look is. And it's often a good idea to use the same fonts in your headings, but just different boldnesses or different sizes, different colors, so that it just, again, keeps that continuity throughout the site, but gives it a different look. Now, what's also amazing, let's just copy this widget so we can really see it. Clone. And with this one, we're going to make the letter spacing a little bit bigger. And you can see just the difference of spacing something like the letters or the words in addition can give you a totally different look for a font. Now this you don't see as drastically as some fonts, but just changing the letter spacing or word spacing can give you a very different look. Down here, we can choose to decorate it with an underline, overline, or line through. Transformation. So right now we're in uppercase, which means everything is uppercased. If we're capitalized, the first letter of each word would be capitalized. Or if we lowercase, everything is lowercase. I go none. Now, when I do none, that's because this was all capitalized to begin with. So if we make it, we got the goods, and I did the capitalization, it would stay the same. If we go lowercase, it would all go lowercase. Uppercase, we all go uppercase. Small caps, so let's go capitalize. Small caps, you'll see what this does. It makes everything essentially the capitalization version. So the D and the E are the two things that just changed here. And everything has that small caps look, but it's in that capitalize format. The line height is also extremely important. So the line height is how much space is in between lines when we stack. Now we're not going to stack typically on the desktop here, but when we get down to a phone, for example, and let's shrink the width of this, you will see that that's a big gap. That gap is controlled here with the line height. It's a good idea to live around 1.5. 1.5 looks good on all devices, and it's just a good, safe, medium range for the line height. You cannot control the size of a font from device to device like I can padding and margin. So when you really want to make this look smaller on different devices, what you need to do sometimes, actually let me demonstrate this. So let's make this much bigger. Okay, let's make it 50. But when we get down to a phone, you can see it's multiple lines. So what's often done is we can make a copy of this. So I'm going to clone it. I'm going to make the top version only available, or essentially available on everything but the phone. So we're going to hide it from the phone. And this second version, we're going to do the opposite. We're going to hide it from every device but the phone. And then once we go down to the phone, we can make it whatever size we want, and we won't be affecting any other device. So sometimes with text or the header widgets, when the fonts are just, we can't manipulate them in size by a percentage amount from device to device. So sometimes we have to essentially make a copy by cloning them, make one version for all devices but the phone, and then make a second version just for the phone and not any other device. So to summarize the fonts, definitely pick one you like, and then I highly suggest changing the fonts all throughout here. Change it for all the buttons, all of the headers, the text. If you want to keep that continuity and consistency, it should be one of the first things you do is establish the font you're going to be using throughout the site. Now at any point, again, I can choose to use something different with an individual header or button, but just setting the default is very important right off the bat. Okay, color. So when we talk about color, most of the time, again, we want to keep ourselves as clean and white as possible. Most headers, this background color is often white. So we're going to just make this white, and let's just go to our contact page. Oh, the one page I've turned off. Let's go to About. So one way we can get color into the site is to break up the header, the body, and the footer. So again, 3 different sections: header, body, footer. If I come into the design style editor, I can control, again, you saw I just changed this background color to white. This background color is the body background color, and it's an off-white, and that's this 239 value across the board. True white is 255. Now, that's very clean, but now our header, our body, and our footer all look like they're kind of together. What's common to do is to make, essentially we're going to reverse. We're going to make this the off-white, and now you can tell we are definitely in the footer. It's different than the body of the page. Now, to break up the body and the header, it's very common to use a page title. So that's what this is. And I'm just going to delete it and re-add it. So within widgets, page title. So the page title can be automatic. If it's automatic, it's taken from here, or I can override it. Now, again, it's a header. So if I use one of the header layouts that I've configured in the style editor, it'll be here. For right now, I'm just going to line it center. I'm going to manually make it, let's make it, I like to live around 24 to 26. Let's try 600. And I'm going to make it white, and I'll show you why. So you don't see it, but it's there. I put this header inside of a row. So I'm going to go into the row settings, or I can just click on background color, custom color, and I'm going to use my blue. Okay. Now remember, this blue up here is Deco, so we won't see it. So here, I'm going to come back into the font. This 2 I overlooked. Let's live around 1.5. Make ourselves a little bit bigger. And then I'm going to make it the full width of the page by coming into stretch, background full page bleed. Now we don't really have any content at the moment, so let's just slip in a couple of panels. Let's just throw in this contact and one more. Let's go with benefits, our promise. Okay, now you can see header. This is a part of the body. This is the body. Footer. Very obvious, the 3 different sections. Again, I like to throw color up here using this top bar because it just helps break up the page, and it naturally gets us some color, especially on a phone. When we don't really have a header telling us what page we're on, it's often nice to start like this. And it just, again, keeps yourself very clean. If I want to get more color throughout, then I could, upload custom colored icons. Maybe I change some of the font colors here and there, but I don't want to get too crazy. I want to keep a very clean look throughout the site. That's the most common way to kind of use color. Again, can I make the header colorful and kind of start from there? Absolutely. Another common way, instead of using, let's do it this way. Instead of using a background color, let's use a background image. So here's a good team photo, for example. And if I come into the background settings, contain it, or we'll just leave it a cover. And then I'll turn down the brightness. And let's make this much bigger. So a different way to get color throughout the site is photos as well. And they're very common to use in place of, example right here with the header. Breaking up the header and the body. This is very common with the page title. Use an image right here, or again, just use images throughout. But my suggestion would be keep the body of your site very white and clean. It'll look best on all devices. If you go to any major e-commerce website, or just any website in general, I don't care if it's Google, Facebook, eBay, Amazon, they're very white. They're very clean. It's easy to read, and it's just a good way to go. If you have any questions on how to get color embedded throughout your site, or any questions about the fonts and how to get the most out of them using your Deco Network site, please do not hesitate contacting us. Thank you.